Hi, and welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast, co-hosted by Abby Fearing, the Badass Breastfeeder, and Dianne Cassidy, IBCLC.
Hey, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And this is Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder.
And we are going to talk about partner support. Now, I got to say, we were going to do this a few weeks ago. We got sidetracked by some other cool topics that came up. So now we're ready. We're ready to talk about partner support.
I love this topic.
Oh my. Yes.
Yeah. So where do we begin? Well, partners have to support you.
Yeah. The end.
But they don't, yeah, right. And they often don't know how. Yeah, should we start? Well, I don't know. I could talk about my experience just because I remember this one really funny situation happening with my husband. So I had just had my first son, Jack, and we were like freaking out because we like didn't know what we were doing. And my husband was home, I don't even remember. I had like a couple weeks or something of paternity leave. And then, so we're doing the thing. We're kind of up all night. And we're like, we're also like supplementing with formula. So then we got the bottles and the washing and all night and the dishes and we're just trying to like get through the day. And like, I remember sitting, like every evening, I'd be sitting in the recliner holding Jack, like I did all day. And my husband was like frantically running around the kitchen, like cleaning the dishes and taking the garbage out. And he was like frantic. And I would just wanted to be like, you dumbass, can you come over here and hold this baby?
Oh my God.
Like, I want to get up. I need to pee. I'd like to take a shower. I would like to, and the thing is that he thought he was helping. He like thought he was really, really trying to help. And he's like running around trying to be really helpful. And like, all I wanted was him to just hold the, I don't care about the dishes.
Right.
Like, you can fill up the whole entire bedroom with garbage bags. I don't care. Just hold the baby for a second. And it's not that he didn't want to hold the baby. He like just thought he was like doing his man work, He's like taking the garbage out and he's doing this and this, and I'm like, I realized that he just didn't know,
Right.
They don't know. And when I say they, I mean men. That's what I mean. They don't know because it's all very confusing. I mean, they're like very, okay. So of course each man is different, but generally, you have to be very specific in what you're looking for and what you need. And this is from like the beginning to the end. Here's another funny story. I was pregnant and my husband was like, I don't know, I was reading like, what to expect when you're expecting because I'd never been pregnant before and didn't know I should put that in the garbage.
Right.
And I was like reading it a lot and I was like, oh, like, I was never pregnant before. So I was all excited. And like, he was kind of like not really like, I don't know. He didn't really seem like he was just going about his normal thing and was like waiting for the baby to come 9 months later, which was fine. But I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. You could like read the book too, or you could do other things. And then he, I was specific in my like, be more involved or be more interested or something. And so then he was like, okay, I'm going to be more interested. He started reading the book. And I remember being in the bathtub one day and he came in and he was like, are you still wearing thongs? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, you're not supposed to do that. Because he read in some book that like thongs can make you like too warm or something in your vagina area. And he's like, you really shouldn't do that. And I was like, this is not what I meant by being more involved.
Oh my God. That is so fun. Is that the only thing he got out of that? The only information?
Yeah, right. I was like, not me. Don't read up on what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe read up on like what's going on developmentally with the fetus. I don't know. I don't care. And I was like, just forget it. But so, I feel like, and the second time around when we were kind of more, more in tune with each other, I think, and more in tune with like just being pregnant and expecting a baby, it was more like, we just understood more how to communicate with each other, I think, when it came to these kinds of things. So then I also knew very specifically like what I needed him to do. And, this is all about the person who is going to be delivering the baby and breastfeeding the baby. So this person is now, you're you really are running the show. Like you're going to have to dictate exactly what you need and what is going to be going on. And it's not equal. It's that this is about you.
Right.
All about you.
And they really don't know, like, they don't know what you need recovery wise. They don't know how to help you. They're not sure. And I mean, everybody knows their partner best, but you really like have to put it out there. You have to be really black and white about it.
Yes.
And it wouldn't hurt to have a conversation before the baby comes too.
That's true.
To just even be like, okay, this is kind of what's going to happen. And this is what we should expect this to be like. And, because it really, I mean, I always tell people, like, leave a list, put a running list on the refrigerator of things that need to be done or things that need to be picked up or things that need to, you need help with. That way your partner or anybody that comes over to supposedly help, they will have something that they can help you do. And it might sound silly. Like, remember when you were pregnant and people said, oh, make sure people help you and make sure you do this. And you're like, whatever, I got this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do this.
Because you don't know. You just don't know.
Right. You have no idea what it's really going to be like. But your partners, they really are just like, they're kind of clueless. Like, they just don't know how to help you.
No, they don't know what it's like. They have no frame of reference for what it's like to have a human growing inside of you. I mean, if you just think about it really quickly and not think about the nature of it, I mean, it's alien. It's like the movie Aliens. Like, it's freaky. It's kind of freaky that there's this thing growing inside of another thing. Like, it's weird. Right. They have no idea what it's like to have like your entire esophagus, like right at the top of your throat. They don't know what these feelings are. They have no idea what it's like to stand up and feel like all of your organs are going to fall out your vagina.
Right.
They don't have any idea. They have no idea. So you have to like really explain, like, I really can't walk, the day after, like, you give birth, like, it might be really difficult for you to, like, do even, like, simple walking. Like, I need you to help me to the bathroom. Like, I need, I need you to, like, tie this, scarf around and I always do that to my husband too, like with you can tie like a scarf around your belly to, like, lift up the pressure.
Yeah.
And so I did that a lot with my second, because by the end I just could barely even stand up. It just felt like he was going to fall right out on the grocery store floor. Like it.
I know.
And I'm like, you need to tie it. And, he'd be like tying it. And I'm like, no, you need to tie it tighter. And he's like, aren't you going to squish the baby? No, you're not going to squish the damn baby. Tie it tighter. God. Like they just don't, they're like, oh my God, I'm going to squish the baby, or I'm going to poke the baby in the eye with my penis if we have sex. Like they don't. They seriously don't, like, they just don't know. Like, you
no.
Just explain it.
I mean, they need pretty clear instruction.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, if you think about it as like, they probably appreciate it, especially if it's
say that. I was just going to say.
Yeah. Oh, were you really?
Yes.
Yeah, because then they know what they can do to help you if they are told what to do to help you.
Right, because they want to help. I mean, I think most partners want to help, and they just don't know what to do in this kind of area. And so they're either going to do odd things that are going to annoy you, or you could just be really clear and tell them. Because you might think, well, they're not really involved. They don't really want to help. Well, they might just not know what to do.
Right. And this could be a very strange thing for the new mother whose role was never to be directive.
Oh my God. I was just going to talk about that next too.
Oh.
Yeah. We're like they're really like down. We've got this down now.
I know.
Because, there are not, okay. Sorry. Just like, that's what I was going to say. So now I'm going to talk. No,
totally go ahead. Because I mean, that popped into my head that I was like, what about if you have one of those, one of those women who is more like, just, I'll do it myself. It's easier that way. Because I'm kind of like that. I'm kind of one of those that's like, I'll just do it myself, know, and you got to get past that.
I know. Communicating for me often feels like a burden too. But when I need to do something, I can be very bossy, and that's also a personality thing. But then you have relationship dynamics where maybe there's like a power differential, and I don't know if that's the right way to put it, because that sounds a little scary. But, you just have maybe more traditional kind of like where the woman is, is supposed to be kind of taking care of things around the house, and the man is generally kind of doing his own thing. you don't hear a lot of that kind of anymore, but there are relationships that are out there. Like all relationships are different and people get to decide whatever relationship they're in. I'm not judging. But when you're in that type of relationship, possibly it might be hard for you to be like, to kind of change where like the tables turn a little bit and you have to say, partner, I need you to do this, or I need, you're saying these things that you need, which might be a new thing for you.
Right.
And that can be really difficult. And on top of that, we also might have partners that really aren't that interested in helping.
Yeah, that happens.
That does happen. And, people think, well, I'm going to get it and I'm going to have a baby with this person and this person's going to be a good father. And then you have a baby with this person and it turns out they're not really interested in really helping. And that's a really, really gotta be a really tough situation to be in.
Yeah. And it could be really, I mean, even if it's just not just the helping piece, but like I've come across it at times like this just happened last week, so it's sitting right in my head. But I did a home visit with a family and, I helped them with their first baby and this is their second. And, the dad is extremely involved and very good. And they have home births and, he's all about this. He's all about supporting. He's all about doing this. And we're having our visit and the baby wasn't feeding well and wasn't really gaining that great. And we're having our little visit and I'm sitting there with the mom talking and I kind of look out of the corner of my eye and the dad was filling out his March Madness bracket.
That's so my husband would do.
And I was like, and I didn't think too much of it until I was talking to one of my friends and she mentioned something about men in basketball. And I was like, it's kind of just what it is right now. Like she was complaining about her
March Madness happens whether it's true. It does. And it's, I think that's what, and maybe I'm the wrong person to talk about this because my husband is mad about March Madness. I mean, like it is the house stops, friend. He's on the phone at night talking to the people. We have to stop, the TV comes on or he's watching stuff on his phone. And it's fun, he involves the kids and he like gets them kind of excited too. But like, that's a thing. And and after like, I have a picture of this. He's also a Red Sox fan, probably even definitely a bigger baseball fan than he is a basketball fan. So that's saying a lot. I have a picture of the day after Jack was born in the hospital of him holding Jack and the TV. There was a Red Sox game on. Yeah. It was July. So it was like, getting the end of July. So it's like, okay, well, this is, it was an important game. Is what I'm trying to say. And he's like, I'm going to turn this on. And there was no reason not to turn it on because we were just sitting there. But he was going to watch it. He was going to watch it, even though we just got kicked in the face with parenthood. He's like, well, hold on. The Red Sox are playing.
And it was like, and she did not say anything, maybe she didn't notice or whatever, but he obviously knew, okay, she's in good hands right now. And I don't need, but then a little bit later, while we were talking about what her plan of action was going to be, she was like, honey, can you listen for a minute? Because I want to make sure I don't miss anything,
Good.
So
yeah. Good.
So like, that's what you have. You really do not be afraid to say that. Or, I have moms that ask me all the time, like, do you think my husband should be at the consult? Da, da, da. Yeah. I think if he's helping you or if he's there, he should be there to listen because even if you have, other kids and he's helping, but if you need him to be there to be present for you so that he can help you.
Yeah. And it's fine, and just be like, so can you do that? Like she said, just can you pay attention for a second?
Yeah. And it didn't hurt anything. And
unless it's really bothering you and he's doing it all the time and he's not helping. And then you're going to have to say something. Yeah. Then you're going to have to say something again. Like I need more help or I need more help. And this is what I need. And this is what I need.
Yes,
then you have to be specific. Because then he'll start taking out the garbage and then you'll be like, what?
Change a diaper. Do something. And it is definitely, I remember after I had my twins, and it was a little bit of obviously a different situation because we had the twins and then I had a 2-year-old and I was home with all 3 kids. And I remember my ex-husband coming home from work and like picking up one of the babies and just like sitting down and holding it. And I was like, I have been trapped in this house with these 3 babies all day. You're just going to come in here and sit down. And then I had to get up and like make dinner and, like, so after a while, like after a few days of that, I was like, all you do is come in here and sit down and hold a baby. And then I got to get up and do more work. Like it was just,
yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah. And no, I mean, that's so funny because I had a similar thing here too, because I stay home with my kids are getting older and we homeschool. So I'm home with them all the time and there's no end in sight. We'll be here all day. And that's, wonderful. I love it. But it was my husband has always in our relationship been the one who cooks. Like, I just don't like it and he doesn't mind it. Neither one of us is really crazy about it, but he never minded it. And so he's just always been the one who would come home and cook. And it was just the 2 of us. Who cares? We're just hanging out anyway. But then, we had kids and then we had 2 kids and then I would be home all day and then he would come home and it would be basically time to start dinner and he would start cooking. And I'm, then I'm managing the kids while he's cooking dinner. And then I had to be like, I was just like, wait a minute. I can't do this anymore. Like, we need to change what we're doing because I can't, I need to just shift what I'm doing for a little while. And so I just sucked it up and started cooking dinner so that he could then he could have time with the kids, after work too. And then I could just be like doing something else for a little while, And it was really helpful. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, he was fine with that. Because he didn't know. He just didn't know it was getting overwhelming until I told him.
And that's a perfect example. Like, you really definitely have these conversations before the baby's born. Because if you do have one of those relationships where you are, kind of like slated to do very certain things in the house, some people really do love to do the cooking. And that you might have to have a whole different conversation about that. And that conversation probably shouldn't happen when you're day 3 postpartum coming home from the hospital looking at each other like, well, who's cooking? What are we going to do for a meal? There's definite things that to think about.
Yeah. And I think that you should also, if things are chaotic right now and you are in that situation where it's 3 days postpartum or 6 months or 6 years postpartum and everything is crazy, it's okay. It can get better. Like, it's not going to work itself out like right away. There's going to be the whole, you do something for a few days and it's just absolutely not working. So try something else, like shift things up, have people trade tasks or something and you'll fall into a routine. And as soon as you fall into that routine, it'll be nice. And then the routine will fall apart because there'll be some sort of developmental milestone or something. And then things are going to be different and it's constantly changing. But you get to have like moments of days, weeks or whatever, where things seem like there's a routine because you talking to each other and you're letting, each other know that something's not working for you.
Right. But you're a team, like you're in it as a team.
Yeah.
You had a baby as a team. You made the baby as a team. You're still going to be that team and you just have to work it together.
Yeah. Right.
And the conversation part of it, the communication part of it is really, really important.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so we're talking a lot about husbands and wives. And I love to talk about men because I think it's really funny. But I love men, obviously. But I got an email last week or so. And it was from Anonymous. And she says, I would love it if you could also discuss same-sex partner support. I feel like when it's a woman and a man, it's easy to say the first few months are for the mom to get breastfeeding started. Baby should pretty much always be skin to skin with mama. But how do 2 women balance getting enough skin to skin and breastfeeding in when the other mother wants to be doing lots of close connection with the baby too? And that is interesting because, there is, same-sex couples are going to have a different dynamic probably than like a typical man-woman relationship.
Yeah.
And
they definitely would.
Yeah. But I think the same is going to apply in that you're going to want to communicate. And I just want to say this, that we don't end this episode before talking about partners that feel like they need to bottle feed in order to connect with the baby. So let's make sure that we come back to that.
Okay.
Because that's being a breastfeeding podcast. I think that's a lot of things, something that we definitely, and this probably comes up, with same-sex, because there's same-sex couples out there that are having babies that are both breastfeeding, but I think it's probably more common. And look at me. Who do I know? What's more common? But I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess that it's more common that there's same-sex couples where there's one mom breastfeeding,
right,
and the other one is not. And so then that's another dynamic where somebody's going to maybe feel like they want to fill up a bottle so that they could feed the baby, so that they can bond with the baby too. And this is problematic because introducing, obviously bottle feeding is fine, but it's also not the only way that you can bond with your baby.
It's not even the best way
to
bond
not
with your baby. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sure people think that it is the best way to bond. But
because breastfeeding seems so intimate that I think there's probably some partners out there that are like, oh, I want to be having that intimacy as well. But you don't have to then feed a bottle to the baby in order to get that bonding and that closeness.
No.
Thing that pops into my mind is skin to skin.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, just take your shirt off and hold the baby so mom can go pee.
Right.
You're going to bond with that baby. I mean, that is the best way to bond with the baby. No feeding needed.
Yeah. I think that's a great way. The skin to skin is a great way. And I always said too, bathing, because your baby is awake and interactive and fun. And I mean, it's like, that is a great time to bond with your baby too.
And
playing with them and interactive with them.
Looking at them and smiling. Mm-hmm. Like that's so mammoth for a baby, is to have a face smiling at them.
Yes.
And sitting next to the mom who's breastfeeding.
Right. Why can't we do that?
Sitting next to her and looking, you hold a baby while you're breastfeeding, you're kind of looking down. Well, just sit down next to her and look down at the baby too. The baby will see you. These are all very important ways to bond with a baby.
But I do think that for same-sex couples,
we have to talk about
we really should look at it like any other couple, because they are.
Yeah.
So the bonding piece, I mean, you both moms can do the skin to skin. There can be some bottle feeding if you want that to be there. Chores can be shared, different things. But I mean, I don't know that because it's two females, it has to be absolutely equal time.
No, her specific situation, I think she's saying, is that they're both breastfeeding. Yeah, and that they're both looking for that. How do they balance that? And so I think that comes more, because you're actually, if you're both breastfeeding, you're kind of in a slightly easier situation, because whenever you're with the baby, you're going to be breastfeeding.
Right.
And so that's obviously like skin to skin, totally intimate time, which is going to be lots and lots of bonding. So that's built right into that.
Right. You don't even need any extra.
Yeah, you don't need any extra bonding time. You're going to both be breastfeeding as much as possible, breastfeeding on demand. And so I think, well, you would know this. How for a couple where both women are breastfeeding, you're going to want to make sure that they get equal time breastfeeding. Is that important? Because I know you're going to be wanting, the baby's going to need to be, transferring milk in order for.
Right. And I guess it would depend, it would depend on the situation. I mean, if they're both women who have both had babies before and they both were able to, the birthing mom probably has a better milk supply, unless the other mom happened to be breastfeeding as well at the same time, or pretty close to it. So it could be that, the one mom or the birthing mom is doing the majority of the breastfeeding, and, the other mom might be just kind of filling in here and there, doing a few, a little bit less of the breastfeeding, but still doing some breastfeeding. Yeah,
and it doesn't really matter if she doesn't have a lot of milk, right?
No.
It doesn't matter. The
what
baby
a great benefit.
Yeah.
I mean,
4 boobs.
One
baby,
God.
4 boobs. Wow.
That's great. The best. I mean, that would be the best. I'm sorry. It's just would be great.
And you don't have the dude running around taking the garbage out, wondering what the hell to do.
Right.
Although, I'm sure there are plenty of, same-sex partners where it's like, what's going on? But then that's where relationships are relationships, no matter who's involved. And you have to tell the person what you need.
And I think a lot of it comes down to that, the fact that who grew the baby? The person that grew the baby, that had the baby, there's going to be a different feeling there. You know what I mean? Like as far as what the baby needs and what they're doing with the baby at that moment, because that instinct is there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but in my head, it makes a lot of sense. So of course it's going to make a lot of sense to everybody.
Yeah.
But
well,
it really they're going to be more attached to that mom, even if there's two moms. They're going to be more attached to the mom that grew them.
That's just instinct. That's just animal instinct. That's what happens when the baby comes out of your body. Then they know which body they came out of.
Right. So it doesn't matter how bonded. I mean, obviously the bonding is important, but still those first couple months, it's always that connection right back to the birth mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean. I've had this conversation with people before, and they're like, "Oh no, but my baby loves my partner." And they're like, "No." Yes, I know. That's not nobody's saying that the baby doesn't love. First of all, the baby doesn't know anything. The baby's not like, "Oh, I love you, but not you. I love you a little bit more." Like they're not. They're just operating on breathing and swallowing, trying to figure that out.
I know. But somebody did recently say to me that she thought she did more bottles with her second baby than she did with her first baby because of feeding problems. And she said, well, I think sometimes I wonder if all moms should do, a few bottles regularly because this baby goes to his father much easily than my first one did.
Well, that has nothing to do with bottle feeding.
I agree. But she related that in her mind that it must be bottles that's making the baby more comfortable with the father because now the dad bonded with him because of the bottles. And I was like, well, I think that's that's an individual type thing too.
That's just a personality thing. That's the child's personality. I mean,
my son went to my ex-husband fine, and he only had probably maybe 5 bottles his whole life.
Yeah.
And he never had a problem
never had a
bottle.
father. He's fine with his dad. They're both fine with it. No, I think that goes along with the whole theory of let's create some distance from our baby so that we can facilitate some independence, which is a theory that is just ridiculous. And it just doesn't work.
No.
It's not, it's like, well, let's just, we're going to have them sleep a little bit farther away from us and give them a few bottles so they're just not going to be as attached. They won't be as, clingy or whatever. That's not how it works. That's not at all how it works.
No, it's not. It's not even a little bit.
It's not a little bit. That's like the opposite. That's how you're going to create a person, an emotionally confused person. I mean, no, that's not true. You're not going to be emotionally confused because you slept in a crib and were fed bottles. That's not what I mean. I mean, the whole facilitating this distance. You need to not, don't be so attached to me. Because if you're super attached to me, then you're going to grow up, a pansy or something. Yeah. That's just ridiculous.
No, that drives me crazy. But that's just kind of on the same level as people saying, well, if I breastfeed, the baby's going to be too attached.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they say. And that's what they say about, well, they say that about Jack. Jack's 6.5 and he breastfed until a few weeks ago. Well, he's going to grow up and be, too attached and too clingy. What?
No, he's not. He's going to be just the opposite because he knows you're not going anywhere.
Right. It has nothing to do with it.
No, not at all.
No, and I think people forget that, I forget how, I was at the chiropractor the other day and she said something really, really, interesting. People forget that these kids have personalities. I said to her, I was talking about, with Jack, I had all the interventions and it was very traumatic. And then with Exley, we did everything natural and it was all, textbook kind of natural, whatever. And Exley is in the chiropractor with all these things, she's like, oh, he's got all this tension here and all this tension here. And I was like, well, then what's the difference? And she was like, that's what happens, with kids. You realize that they're just people. They're just you have very little. You don't have a lot of influence over, what happens. They have their own personalities. It's like your first kid, you feel like you have so much control over everything. And then with your second kid, it's kind of like, well, you know, that you have some control. You have control over a lot of things, but there's also, they're just born who they are.
Yeah.
And what are we talking about? We're supposed to be talking about partner support, and I think we're out of time.
And we're on a tangent.
I know. Well, we're still talking about, we were mostly talking about partner support.
We are, yeah. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes we get away from things. So sorry about that.
Yeah, because we're interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
But partner support, I think did we cover it? I was really happy that we talked about the bottle feeding, because that's not, just let your partner know that that's not how you need to bond. You know, you're bonding by being present.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do. But so I think, you know, what it comes down to is like, definitely talk about it beforehand. Be open to communicating what you need.
And you have to be clear.
Yeah, your partner is not going to read your mind.
No.
They're not going to know what you need. They're not going to know what your recovery is like. They're not going to know, they don't know how you're feeling. You know, they don't know how tired you are, or how sad you might be, or how hormonal you might feel, or they have no idea. Mm-hmm. So just be completely transparent.
Yeah. And don't worry about it. You're not going to, you know, as long as you're just not like a huge jerk about it, then, you know, you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings. They're going to be relieved to know what you need.
Yeah. Partners want to help. They really do. They want to help.
They just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You have to tell them. Tell them to stop messing with the garbage and come and hold a baby for a second.
Yeah. That's all. That's all they got to do.
Or sometimes, you know, they just want to take the baby and you're like, I don't need that right now. Just leave, you know, I need you to take the garbage out. You know, that's the thing. Right. Just tell them.
So there you go. Partner support. Next week, we are going to talk about birth trauma.
Yes.
Birth trauma?
Birth trauma. That's
a specific story. A specific
We have a specific story that we think that you're all going to be able to relate to. Not all, but many people will relate to it.
Yeah. So, so look forward to that. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.